Sec. Hello, team. It is Tuesday, March 26th, and this is I'm going to call it our Reborn Mercedes Car Club. What I did was I renamed the group Build Your Team and Earn a Mercedes because I was almost feeling like people were hesitant to join the group, thinking that you had to be a Mercedes car achiever to be in it. Another side thing that was weird about the title is you can't even believe how many dudes I turned down that are clearly Mercedes enthusiasts. So that was a pretty consistent problem. So build a team driver Mercedes, I think will decrease the number of just Mercedes enthusiasts that are not park leaners, and communicate better that what this group is all about is learning how to strengthen your business and therefore improve your recruiting, which is going to lead you to all the things that Park Lane has to offer, which includes driving a company Mercedes. So if you only recently added yourself to the group today or super recently, I definitely would recommend scrolling through down to the beginning, because we did some fun stuff when we first formed this group about with a little bit of a kickoff. I did encourage everyone to go to a Mercedes dealer and look at the cars and imagine, sit in one, breathe the leather, take a photo standing next to one. Anytime you're in a parking lot and you see one, go stand near it and imagine it was yours. Because there is something to be said for actually driving the Park Lane Mercedes. And the visualizing is a big part of the, part of getting there, I believe. It's just funny. A lot of you, have heard this already, but again, because we have some newbies, I do have the Park Lane car. I did wait probably what was too long to actually get it. I earned it only just a couple of months into the business, but waited for almost 2 years to actually go get it. And then the first show I took it to, the hostess signed because they made such a big deal out of the fact that I had this Mercedes paid for by Park Lane. And it happens a lot where people are, I'll do the Q&A at a show, and people will be like, a lot of times people think they're being funny and they're like, do you drive a pink Cadillac? And I'm like, no, but I do drive a white Mercedes if you'd like to take a look outside. And they're always like, wait, what? Mary Kay hasn't even done pink Cadillac in 100 years, but it's what people kind of affiliate company car with. So whenever we do the Q&A thing, they always think they're being smart alecky when they say, do you drive a company car? And when I'm like, oh, we absolutely do. That's this page here in the album. And if you take a look outside, that's where I'm parked. And they're always like, oh my God. And then you see them start whispering with furrowed brows and looking at each other like, is she serious? So it does really give you a lot of credibility, and it is just fun and fabulous to drive a Mercedes. There is, I grew up in a Chevy household. So the fact that I now drive a Mercedes is 100 miles away from the car lifestyle that I grew up with. I was not someone, even though I live in a place where lots of people do drive Mercedes, my family was not even close to one of them. My parents put all their money into our educations, and we did not have fancy cars or a big house. So to have a car like that really is amazing. So what we are doing for our training series, and I don't know how many nights of training it will take. I haven't really fully assessed it, but several weeks for sure. We are going to go through a whole program called Step into Success. So we're going to be starting with just the whole concept of success. How do you get it? And once you get it, how do you hang on to it? So that's going to be a part of the beginning here. So my question for you is, how many of you really do truly want to have success in your Park Lane business? Okay, so now I know you're like sitting in your living rooms in some form of like sweatpants, pajamas, whatever, and it would not really be at all normal behavior for you to all go, woo! Right? But imagine like if you weren't in that environment, would you have responded the same way? Or like, would you have really ripped a big woo for me? Because if you would have really from like your toenails ripped out a big woo for me, that's the level of enthusiasm that we are looking for when it comes to how you feel about your Park Lane business. Because there's a huge difference in the results you get with, and you want to let that excitement out. Enthusiasm is actually one of the biggest keys to success in this business, because people are drawn to excitement. They're drawn to enthusiasm. They want to be a part of it. And you've seen that many of you have at some point or another probably worked a vendor event, right? And where are all the people? Where all the people are. Like all of a sudden there'll be like a flurry going on at one table. And that's what makes other people want to become, now everyone's like, ooh, what's going on over there? We got to go check that out. And it's just the flurry and excitement and enthusiasm that's happening there. You can even see that. You see it sometimes on like Park Lane trips or at convention, where all of a sudden you'll notice that there's a big group gathered around somebody telling a story. And it's like, oh, she's telling a story, or they're talking about something. And it's because as people saw like a big group laughing, a big group hanging out, more and more people kind of attach onto it. Mary Grace has taught us all, I think, a phrase that I love, and I always have to think about exactly the right way to say it. It's like enthusiasm on fire is better than knowledge on ice. So that just means if you're excited about your business, so what if you mess up the 2 and 4 sale a little? So what if you don't really know what the jewelry is made of? So what if you don't really know how to sign up your first recruit? You're excited. You're spreading that excitement to other people. They want to be a part of it. We'll get you the knowledge. We can't really teach you the enthusiasm, but we can always teach you the knowledge and the nuts and bolts when you need it. And a lot of you that are on right now are leaders. And that's something that you really need to teach to your team members. One of the things I say to new people all the time is that this is a business of you learn it when you need to learn it. Do you know how to turn your hostess into an intro show? If you've never recruited before, the answer is no, right? But then when you need to learn it, we show you what to click, we tell you what button to push, and then you know. And that's how this whole entire business is. Oh, I promoted a branch for the first time. What do? We show you where the promotion form is. We tell you that who's got to be emailed to. And now you know what paperwork you need to promote somebody to branch. You learn it when you need to learn it. So be enthusiastic about the parts that you know, and then you'll get to know the parts that you need as we proceed on. So what we lay out is what people mirror back to us too. So what I mean by that is, remember this answer? Okay, who wants it? Who wants success in your business? Okay, that means that's the equivalent of coming home from convention and calling a hostess and being like, hey Deb, it's Michelle from Park Lane. I am super excited because we just got back from convention and the jewelry is so nice. Oh my gosh. We have a brand new catalog and I was thinking, I haven't really seen you in a while. So it might be time to do another show. And then Deb's going to mirror that back to me, right? So Deb's going to respond with something like, well, I guess I could think about it. Why don't you send me the catalog and I'll, call a couple of friends and I'll get back to you. that whole transaction is so deadly. I barely can act it out because it's so annoying. Because it's like, just sing-songy matter of fact to her, and then it's sing-songy matter of fact back. Whereas if you are calling up your past hostess and saying, Deb, oh my gosh, I am so excited that you just picked up. We just came home from the convention and the jewelry is unbelievable. There was a necklace that goes so great with some of the bracelets and earrings that you have. It is just all you. You have got to see this. I would love to come on over. Why don't we get a couple of your friends together? It's going to be an amazing night. When can we do this? And then the hostess is like, oh my gosh, I don't know. Do you have Fridays available? Because she's going to mirror that same enthusiasm back. So when you're thinking about doing your reach outs, that's why I even call, like when you do that for even texting, that's why I even call it the OMG text. It's when you come back from convention, you send the OMG text, meaning, OMG, I'm home from convention, the jewelry's amazing. That's an excited, as best as you can do, on text to communicate super enthusiastic about the new line or whatever it is that you're saying. Okay, so I emphasize all the time that one of the biggest ways to success in this business is confidence. So don't be unsure, even if you are. Don't be hesitant, because this is the best jewelry. It is the best programs. You know that. And that's enough to be enthusiastic and go out there and head held high and offer what we have. But what also helps is when you practice the words. And it's funny because I'm 19 years into direct sales now. And I often think about, how did I get a pretty good show presentation together pretty quickly? Because at my first show, someone had said to me, how long have you been doing this? And I said, this was my first party, which I hid when I announced myself at the show, which was the same thing I did when I was a teacher. When I was at back to school night, my first several years of teaching, I always made it sound like I had been teaching longer than I had. I said, prior to this, I taught upstate. Upstate was my student teaching. That wasn't real teaching, but I wanted to have credibility, and I knew that if I presented myself confidently enough, they would think that I taught for longer. And maybe I wasn't fooling anyone, because when you're 23, you think you look older than you look. And now, being a 46-year-old mom, when I see a 22-year-old teacher, 22 or 21-year-old teacher, they can say as many places as they want that they sold. I'm like, yeah, whatever. You look like you're barely just done breastfeeding, but okay. So I don't know if I was really fooling anyone, but at least I was projecting that confidence. And I did the same thing at my first show. Now, how is it possible that someone thought I had been doing it for years at my first show? So I thought back to that, and I remembered, so I started in a warm weather season, and I remember I went outside with a notebook and a pen, and I sat on a lounge chair on my deck, and I wrote out my whole entire show. I wrote out a show opening. I wrote out what I was going to say about each and every product. And I wrote out what I was going to say as the show closed. And then I read it over and over. I said it out loud over and over. I practiced it in the car. I made a recording of it and played the recording of me saying it back to me, which is also something I do for my convention presentations, where I record it and I say it out loud, and then I play myself back to myself. And I've learned that that strategy that I did for my very first show is why my presentations generally go pretty well, because I practice them. And that way I'm confident in what I'm saying and doing. So I would recommend, if you've never taken that action, if you've never practiced, and that's what it takes to make a change, right? How many of you have been doing shows? Who's done more than 20 shows? Who's been doing this for longer than a year? 2 years? Okay, now Sheila in the upper, well, in my screen, she's in the upper left. Sheila's been doing this for 30 years, okay? If Sheila wants to make a change to her show, it is 100 times harder for Sheila than it is for somebody who's brand new, because somebody who's brand new has only said it a few times anyway, and it's easier to change. When you've done your show many, many times, it's actually harder to change it, because once you start your show, you kind of hit those moments where you're on autopilot. And it's why even today I live in slight fear of saying Pampered Chef on the Park Lane stage, because they both start with P. And there are parts of my show opening that I say exactly the same as I did in my previous business, which is why Mary Grace slipped and said Party Light at the leader meeting. For those of you that may not have been there, she said such and such had been with Party Light for X number of years, and we all hit the floor laughing because we thought that she did it on purpose. And when she made it obvious she didn't say it on purpose, it made it even funnier. But when you have said something else so many times, especially that starts with the same letter, you really can have a close call. So now you'll think of me every time I speak at convention, because a small part of me, every time I say Park Lane, I pause ever so briefly to make sure that I don't say the wrong thing, because if I ever say Pampered Chef on that stage, I will die of 1,000 deaths. And there's been some close calls, I'm not going to lie. So it does take practice, whether you're saying it in the car. So what if people near you are seeing you? They don't know if you're saying a Park Lane presentation or if you are, singing a song. So it doesn't matter. Practice it, do it again, and you will project that confidence that you need. Okay, so we're going to be in these next, not necessarily all tonight, in these next couple of weeks, some of the things that we're going to be working on are goal setting. We're going to work on time management, how to get on track and stay on track and continue being successful. We're going to talk about bookings, because how many of you have all the bookings that you could ever need? Okay. I think we all probably have a healthy discontent with no matter how many shows we have, because even if you ask Mary Grace Lewandowski, do you have all the bookings that you need? She will say no. And most of us would, love to have her calendar sitting on our calendar. But she has a healthy discontent, and I think that that's part of being successful too, is never being satisfied. Not that you're never proud of what you're doing, but that there's always there's always a little more that you could be doing. So we're going to be, in the course of these next couple of weeks, talking about how to maximize bookings both outside shows and at shows. And we're also going to, of course, talk about recruiting. Now, let me ask you this. How many of you would love to be recruiting one person every single month consistently? Okay, so there were several different faces, which is very funny, because here are the three different responses that I just saw. The definite, like, yep, me, thank you, I'm in. Okay, then there was the person that was like, there were a couple of you that were like, I mean, I would, I don't know that I can, but if you say so, and that's like a thing, I guess I could do that. Then there were a couple of you that were like, well, really what I want is 2 or 3, but okay, I'll just raise my hand because the only choice was 1. Okay, and then there were people that saw you respond like that are like, oh, well, that's, Jennifer, and she's like really good. She's like a recruiter. I'm just like, I just do this like part-time. So, I don't really, like, I'm not one of those people, but I mean, I guess like if somebody wanted to join my team, like, of course I'd sign them up, but like, I'm not really going for that. That's like, something that those people do. Okay, so like there's a little of that going on all through the screen, and all of you that are watching this back later, you will have experienced that exact same thing, because you will have made one of those 3 faces even as you sit and write the notes. So Here's the thing. You don't have to be a superstar recruiter in order to be successful in your business. You only have to be a consistent recruiter in order to be successful. And that, just doing that one a month. And then, of course, the key to making that be the super successful thing is to teach your people how to recruit one every month. So you bring in one person, you teach that one person how to recruit one person, and then that person how to recruit one person. Think about how many people are on your team right now. Some of you have 5 people on your team. Some of you have 50 people on your team. If everyone recruited one, think what is the double number of your team? Okay, so you would be going, say, from 10 until 20. And then that means that the next month you'd go from 20 to 40. Today you are 10. Can you imagine in 2 months being at 40 from 10? But that is what you recruiting one and teaching everybody else to recruit one. That's the type of growth that you can have when you employ this tactic. So that's what's going to make you have a big, successful, and thriving organization that's always moving forward. So we're going to be putting our emphasis there as well. So let's talk just success in general. If I was to ask each one of you, are you successful in your business? I would actually love to hear, like, I'm not going to make people answer, but like, it would be, if we were to really have each of you answer, or even if we said it at like convention where there's so many people, are you successful in your business? The most common answer that I would get back if I was to do that as a poll walking around convention, P-O-L-L, walking around convention, the most common answer would be a semi-blank stare, and then like stammering out some form of, well, like, I do this part-time, so, like, I have fun at my shows, and, I guess I'm successful. When I do a party, people seem to like it, and sometimes I book a show. What I really do is I work at the bank, so that's really my full-time job, and then, I just kind of do this on the side, so, I just kind of have fun with it, so, I don't know. That's actually how most people answer, are you successful in your business? And the reason for that is because you haven't identified what success is. So of course, if you don't know what success is to you, then how can you possibly answer the question, are you successful? You haven't yet decided what you want. And if you haven't decided what you want, if you haven't decided what you're going for, how in the world do you know what you're aiming toward? So of course you can't answer the question. If I don't know what I'm aiming toward, then how am I going to know when I hit it? At what point do you get to celebrate, right? Because you're supposed to set a goal, achieve the goal, celebrate that, and move on to the next goal. If you don't engage in that process, this is all you ever feel. A doggy paddle in the world's biggest pool. A hamster on a wheel. This is it. You forever. Until one day you get sidetracked, you get out of the pool, and you don't sell Park Lane anymore. That's kind of what happens when you don't ever set the goal, because you never give yourself the gift of feeling successful, right? So, because when you feel the success, you project the success. So this is that whole like circle that we're trying to close up here. Because people want to be around other successful people. And again, the success is what you decide it is. So that's why it's imperative that you know what success is for you, Savannah, Christine, Becky, Naomi. Each of you individually know what success means to you. It doesn't mean that you were the top recruiter at convention. It doesn't necessarily mean that you have the biggest team, the highest selling, whatever. It means that you set a goal, you achieved it, therefore you are successful. Okay, so success is an achievement of something that you've predetermined in your mind, which means that what you're going to write down is success is an achievement of the goal you set. Success is an achievement of the goal you set. So then it stands to reason then, right, that in order to be successful, what do we have to do? I can read Jen's mouth.
Set a goal.
Goals. And yes, Naomi typed it into the chat. Great job. We have to set our goals. So my next question then is, how many of you have goals written down where you can see them? Okay, great. And that's a good amount of you. And considering that this is, you know, a dedicated call for people who want more, it makes sense that a higher than average percentage will have that on a call like this. But the general rule of thumb is that it's going to be about 25% of someone like, of like a group like this, and 13% of the general population that's going to have any goal at all, which means that 87% of the people on your team come onto your team thinking, I mean, I'll give it a try. And if we don't help them set a goal, they're going to stay in that mode, which means that they're not going to ever experience any success. And that's why we end up with retention problems, because they've never had the pleasure of experiencing setting a goal, achieving it, and celebrating it, and moving on to the next goal. So one of the biggest reasons why people don't set goals is because they're going to say, well, I only do this part-time. So what? Just because you do this part-time doesn't mean you don't get to be a goal achiever. So we want everyone setting a goal, because if you're going to be part-time, then be great at this part-time. Be successful at this part-time. So think about this. If I went up to somebody at the grocery store, someone comes up, let me word it the other way. If someone came up to you at the grocery store and you were catching up, right? And it was like, hey, so what are you doing these days? Oh, yeah, I started a business with Park Lane Jewelry. Oh, so how's it going? And you're like, again, you're kind of giving a version of the little things we've already talked about already, right? Yeah, I mean, it's okay. I mean, you know, I just do it part-time. Really what I do is work at the bank, but, you know, I do a show here and there, and yeah, I mean, it's okay. I'm just, you know, seeing how it goes. If that person was asking you because they had any inclination of maybe trying it with you, or maybe they had heard that you were selling that and were thinking of booking a show, the chances of them proceeding on with either of those based on that answer are pretty slim, because you didn't project that it's going great. You didn't project that you're particularly good at it. Whereas if you had answered something as simple as, oh my gosh, I joined because I was finding that gymnastics was getting so expensive and we needed a new car. So I figured if, you know, I did a couple shows a month, I would have the car payment and could pay for Katie's gymnastics. And I can't believe it. I'm 3 months in. I have paid all those things. I even have a little extra at most of the time. And I have so much fun, not just at the parties, but I am working with some really fun girls. I absolutely love it. That's the exact same results that you're probably having, but wording it 1,000 times better. And especially in the case of if you knew your goal was to pay for the car and pay for Katie's gymnastics, you're experiencing the success, right? So now you're able to share that success with someone who's asking, hey, Christine, how's your business going? You know what the goal was, you know you're meeting the goal, and now in conversation, you're able to share that. So I learned that lesson in a similar way. When I was in high school, I was in a theater program, and it was a really, I went to like a, almost like a fame high school. And when the show was about 3 weeks out, so now tickets are on sale and like, you know, but the show is not ready, right? So you almost feel like, oh my God, we're never going to be ready. It's only 3 weeks away. And this is the same point, because now tickets are on sale. People would say to you like, hey, so how's the show? Now you want to say like, oh my God, it's not ready. Such and such is still forgetting his lines. We had a collision off stage because people left their props on the wrong side of the stage. I don't know. Is that person now going to buy a ticket to the show? Absolutely not, because they think they're going to come to the worst show ever. So our theater director would give us the same speech about 3 weeks out before every show, where he would say, we have now reached the point that tickets are on sale and people are going to say to you, how's the show? You are to say, it's great, get a ticket. Because it will be great in 3 weeks. It's not supposed to be ready yet. The goal isn't quite ready. You know, it's not quite set yet, but it will be when the time comes. And it always was. Never did I perform in a show that was not spectacular by the time it came. So we didn't give like the whole, you know, oh, it's not there yet. Da, da, da. So similarly, just like when you have a show coming up, or like you have a Scott event coming up, or Mary Grace is coming, or I'm coming, or whatever, and it's like, you know, has that event coming along? Oh, no one's coming. Da, da, da. Now your friends, you know, don't want to buy tickets when you're like, oh, no one's coming. No, it's going to be amazing. You have to come. Meanwhile, inside, you might feel like, I have no idea what's happening. But, you know it will be great when the time comes. All right, so that is how you're going to verbalize your business, but it will help so much if you know what your goals are and you're able to communicate that you've achieved that goal to someone that's asking. So what are some examples of basic goals that you could be setting? Or again, as a leader, what you can be helping your team members. If it is, I want to do 1 show a week and it needs to be on Friday, Saturday, or Sunday, then you're going to help your team member do that. Or you're going to, if that's your goal, do that. That way, you know, when you've held 1 show a week, and at the end of the month, you did 4 shows, you made about $1,000, or you made $800, or whatever it is you made, you earn rich rewards 1, 2, and 3, you get to celebrate. You know you hit your goal. You get to tell your friends you hit your goal. You get to talk about with your leader that you hit your goal. That's what you've defined as successful. So instead of just randomness, right? If you just book shows whenever, as they come to you, that's random. And random acts get you random results, right? And that's not what we're looking for. We want to be acting with intention and purpose so that you can get the results that you desire. Okay? So again, you can't do that unless you've been specific enough to know what the goal is, what the desire is. So you may have written down things like, I want to do 8 shows a month. Now, you don't need a fancy tracker for things like this. That means that you take a piece of paper, you number it 1 to 8. As you book shows, you write the hostess's name and date next to each one. As long as you're still or you take your calendar and put boxes around in green around the dates that you want to book. When they're full, you get to celebrate. You decided that you are successful. Until then, you're going to keep working to fill those holes. And each day, when you sit down in your office, your first course of action is, what action step am I taking today to fill the 17th and the 23rd? Right? Because I'm going to tell each of you right now that whether you're a brand new fashion director or whether you are a company vice president, action step number one every day in your business is to look at your calendar and see what needs to be booked. That Mary Grace will tell you the same thing, and that's why she's a top seller. That's why she always has enough personal business. That's why she can dovetail shows to her downline. That's why when she comes home from Rome with the flu and gives away 3 shows in a row, she barely even notices, because she spends each day, the beginning of each day, working on personal business. So at no point is your leadership title worthy of not paying attention to your personal business. So if you're like, oh, I feel guilty, my team, blah, blah, blah. Nope. Until your personal business is handled, team things can wait. Okay, so when you go to bed the night before, take a look at your to-do list. Go to bed, that way you're sleeping on it, and then in the morning, come in, sit down, where are my holes, work on that. So is your goal, I want to do 8 shows a month? Is your goal, I want to develop X number of leaders, so I want to promote 2 branches this month? Then you're going to write branches 1, 2, and then track that. We should all have our, remember that areas and above are entitled to attend the VIP at convention. If you've not seen or been working on this tracker, get a hold of one, have your leader direct you to where it is if this is the first time you're ever seeing this. But Kim Osreich was good enough to make this for all the areas and above. And there are 16 letters in Meet Shirley Levine. So as a company VP, that is how many I have to promote 16 leaders in my downline in order to attend this luncheon. So for me, each time I develop a leader, I get to color in another letter. When it's fully colored in time for convention, I get to go to the luncheon. Now, if you are a division, you need how many leaders? 4. So Jennifer Ewert can color in everything up to the L if she hasn't promoted anyone yet, because she only has to fill in EVIN. So you get a head start. All right, if you have to do 8, you're going to color in until you're 8 back. And then you track them here. Here it tells you how many you need for each leadership level. This is an awesome tracker. So you get to color in to whatever your head start is. Do you have a trip tracker? If you're saying that your goal is to earn St. Martin, you should be working on your trip tracker. You should be looking at your report in the central report in your dashboard every single day. You should be in the Meet Us in St. Martin group. If these words are all new to you, again, ask your leader, why am I not in the St. Martin group? How can I get in? Where is the link for that? Great support is going on for that. And all of these goals are kind of intertwined, right? Because if you're trying to earn the trip, you have to recruit 4 people, right? If you want to drive a Mercedes, you have to recruit whatever the appropriate amount of people is into your team. It can be personal or team in order to do that. So if you do it within the time frame of a Mercedes, then you'll also have them for the trip. So these things all kind of overlap, and you'll find as you're tracking 1 or 2 of these things, you're actually earning 3 or 4 of them. Even things basic as rich rewards. 2 people that you join that qualify in a month, you get $300 worth of jewelry. 2 people is also the maintenance number for an area to drive a Mercedes. And then you just need the volume. So these are all the reasons why you need to know what your numbers are for each of these things. So you need to print out a Mercedes brochure. Look at what you need. Add that to whatever tracker you're using. Track your rich rewards. One of my favorite trainings I loved years ago when Jennifer Bond did the to-go thinking, right? Where, you know, a division, for example, needs 10,000 net team sales to get a $500 bonus, right? So how many of you are divisions? Okay, so, and I know there's some of you that are not on camera, but so in this case, Deborah and Jen would be smart to have at the top of one of their trackers $10,000 net. And then at the conclusion of each week, deduct how much so that they can see how much to go they need to get $500. Jen Ewert is on my team actually, and just last night she was saying she's real close to promoting an area leader and to get her first Mercedes payment. She actually has qualified for the Mercedes already, but she qualified, but then the key is to do it again to actually see the money, and that's the part she's not done yet. So she said, I'm going to get it. I'm going to get the Mercedes this month. But then she said, isn't there a number that if we hit, I get a money bonus also? Which also the Mercedes is money too. But I said, yes, 10,000 net, and you get another 500. I wrote, yes, 500 big ones. And she said, oh my God. And I reminded her, just like I'm reminding all of you, to look at your career plan, look at the comp plan. Because if you actually looked carefully at your comp plan and realized how much money you're leaving on the table that Park Lane is willing to give you every month, you actually probably will want to go in your bathroom and throw up. Because the Mercedes is worth $700 a month if you drive it, $500 if you don't. Areas have ways of getting $500 bonuses. Divisions have ways of getting $500 bonuses twice a month. Plus, then senior divisions are leaving weekly bonuses on the table as well as monthly bonuses. All these levels have cash money bonuses. And one of the biggest reasons that I personally, there was a number of reasons why I came to Park Lane, but on my interview, when I looked at the comp plan and saw all those monetary bonuses that are available, I said to myself, oh my gosh, this is like a real company. And what I mean by that, like, yes, my former company was a real company, but it was definitely not run by like money-minded people. Sales is a job that you're supposed to make a lot of money if you want it, right? Most people, my kids go to private school, which means that we are around some really rich people a lot of the time, okay? So, and believe me, I am not meaning myself. I make great money here, don't get me wrong. But I'm talking people who I live on Long Island. There are people that my kids go to school with that live in $3, $4, and $5 million homes, okay? That have multiple luxury cars, that are paying full ride cash to schools like Notre Dame. It's ridiculous. And I always say to my kid, what does their father do? What does their mother do? And so often it's sales. So when I came here and saw that Park Lane really does offer all of these cash weekly and monthly and yearly bonuses and overrides and bonuses, all these different things, I said, this is a real company. And this is where you can tell too, and I don't mean to be misogynistic against my own gender, but I said, you can see this is men. Men know that people want to make money. My previous company, every bonus came in the form of a pen, a tote bag, or some other stupid tchotchke that showed up on my 1099. You have no idea. Really, I mean, people would be like, I sold my 1,500. Jen actually just found one. I sold my 1,500 and I earned my grocery tote. Like a reusable shopping bag? I cannot tell you how many times you had, in my former company, if you sold 1,500, you got a reusable grocery shopping tote that you can buy for $1 at your grocery store. Okay, when we do 1,000 in the first 2 weeks, we get $250 in jewelry. And these girls are killing themselves for a grocery tote. It's like, seriously, are you kidding me? That they will pay taxes on, by the way, at the end of the year. So take advantage of the fact that we work for a company that is this generous by tracking what's available to you and deciding if those are part of your goals. Okay. I lost my page here. Hold on. Okay, sorry. So that's what, we need our goals. Okay, so how many of you, when you're going to a show, you set your GPS? Do you set a GPS when you're going? Of course, back in the day, we had to like actually get directions, which was a whole nother thing. And I'm so glad we don't have to do that anymore because no one knows where they live. But now we just put it in the GPS, right? Now, do you put it in the GPS and then turn the GPS off and start driving and hope you remember? Oh, hell no, right? You're watching that GPS, even on the part that's taking you out of your own neighborhood. You're still somehow looking at it. You've driven it 1,000 times, but somehow you're still looking at the GPS, right? Because you don't want to get lost and you want to arrive on time, right? Well, the same is true with your business, okay? The success in your business is a journey. It is a road traveled. And what that also means is that you're going to have speed bumps. You're going to have roadblocks. You're going to have detours, which are actually going to arrive to you in the form of husbands, aging parents, full-time and part-time jobs, children, illness. All of these things become the roadblocks in your business. So if you think that your life and your business is going to be without all of these things, you're of course wrong, okay? But successful people are keeping that focus. They are managing those things, even if it means, there is some adjusting going on, but you're managing those things while keeping your goals in front of you. And so people, we've all heard where people, oh, she's lucky, she gets to do whatever. No, that person is not lucky. That person is keeping her focus despite the roadblocks, the illness, the parents, the kids, the nonsense at the full or other part-time job. Okay, that person is displaying their goals, keeping it in front of them. And you'll know when you are doing that, that's where I'm headed. Because it's funny, if you meet someone ever that's like, oh, I used to sell blah, blah, blah. Like when you tell them that you sell Park Lane, a lot of times somebody will say, oh, I used to sell Tupperware. Oh, I used to sell Premier. They'll say all these things they used to do. Oh, so why'd you quit? And they think about it for a minute. And then I usually say something like, well, my mom got sick and then I was just taking care of her. And I don't know, it just kind of faded out. That's a person who didn't have their goals set. That's a person who didn't know how to manage the roadblocks. And because they never really had any goals anyway, they didn't really notice that their business went away because they didn't miss what they were shooting for. So that brings us to our action steps for this week. And I think that you probably know what your action steps are going to need to be this week. Number one is going to be that you're going to write down some goals. Now, there's no right or wrong goals, but they do need to be written down and displayed somewhere that you can see them. If you need to be directed to any of the trackers, please make sure that you ask your leader, post in this group something to find the trackers that you may want to start using. That would include a trip tracker. That would include the VIP event tracker if you're an area or above. Are you trying to promote? Make yourself a little tracker. Are you earning RRC each month? Print a track, make yourself a tracker. Are you working on team goals? Then that should have you should be tracking that. So I'm going to actually start a thread here in our Mercedes group about goal setting. And I would love for you to just comment in that thread anything you're comfortable sharing. It can be the goals you decided on. It can be a copy of any trackers, any and all trackers you may be working on. If you keep all of your trackers in one place hanging in your office and you want to post a photo of that, but that's what we're going to do. We are going to share our goals and our trackers so that we can encourage each other. You'll see that within some of the other groups, like the St. Martin group, every Friday there's a thread to share your trip tracker, and every week a prize goes out to someone that shares it. So get in on that. All right. And do please mark your calendar if you liked this call or you want to you liked it enough to continue to see where it's going to go next, then put an alarm in your phone for Tuesdays at 9 Eastern, 8 Central, or 5 Pacific, 6 Pacific, Take specific so that you remember that this call is now. Obviously, if you have to book a show on a Tuesday because someone wants a Tuesday and that's a date you would work, of course, book a show and watch the recording later. But if you're just trying to watch This Is Us, nope. You can watch that on your DVR later, just like I'm going to, because I miss it every week for you guys. You can miss it for me. Not for me, for your business. So, does anyone have a question, a comment, or anything you'd like to say about tonight? An aha moment? I would love to use these last couple of minutes to hear from some of you. Remember that you're probably muted, because a lot of you are. I don't mute you, but a lot of you muted yourselves.
My favorite thing was when you don't set goals, you don't get to celebrate your successes, and how it's important to stop for a moment and be proud of yourself and realize that you did achieve something. And yes, you're going to recalibrate and set those goals again or work on the bigger picture goals. But to take a moment and celebrate that success by whatever that is, going to getting your nails done because you filled your 8 shows for the month, or, whatever it is, celebrate that. Like, it's okay to reward yourself for good behavior, really. And so, yeah, I really liked, that's a good one for me tonight.
Awesome. Love it. Anyone else want to share?
I like the fact that you gave us an assignment and gave us a place to follow up on it. I think that's really good.
Awesome.
I think once you put it in writing and then when you share it with other people, all of that makes you more committed.
Absolutely. And remember, sometimes people fear doing that because they don't want to fail, but there's no failing. There's only readjusting or, extending the time frame or whatever. There's no such thing as straight up failing. The only way you fail is if you quit. So if you didn't quit, you didn't fail. All we have to do is adjust. So please don't ever think I'm not sharing that because I'll be advertising that I failed at it. That is not how this goes down. You can extend the time, you can adjust, as long as we're not quitting. Okay? So that's what we're not doing. Oh, good. Marlena, I'm glad you found that helpful. In the chat, Marlena is saying that's exactly why she doesn't sometimes share that stuff. Well, now you know. And you know what? Remember, even when you're only sharing in a closed group like this, you're only sharing it with other like-minded, other working people. It's not like you're putting it out in regular Facebook world or something like that, which sometimes that is fun to do, but that world is a lot judgier than this one. This one is just a group that's wanting the same thing that you're wanting, and we're all going to work together on it.
I think it's important to also remember that sometimes we only share successes. And so sometimes as leaders, which I know lots of us are, it's important to put out there, you know what, it took me X amount of months until I promoted to whatever, or I tried every month until I got to this goal, or, I qualified for my Mercedes bonus, but I didn't see the money for this amount of months, So just to reiterate that don't feel like that you're failing, no, we're going to pick ourselves back up, just like you said, and just continue to encourage each other in those quote unquote failures, that we're all in this together and we want to see each other succeed.
Agreed. I mean, the girl that Jen was working with to Area, she must have said it 4 months in a row. This is my month. This is my month. But guess what? This really is the month. So it wasn't the first time or the second time or even the third time, I don't think. This has been going on for quite a while. And finally, she got her act together enough, the stars aligned enough, the right people came in to her circle of influence, and here she is. So that's awesome. All right. Well, I'm going to post this recording for anyone who either came on late or wants to rewatch or totally missed it. I'm going to share it. And If your team is not aware that this has been going on, of course, feel free to add them. And if you are new to the group as of these last couple of days, like I said in the beginning, do scroll through because there are some really good previous posts and trackers. And that very first week, the first week we ever did it, I recorded that, and we had Belinda Barrett and Tamika Hurst sharing. And Belinda shared about how because Belinda, I think, set a world record from earning the Mercedes to standing in a Mercedes dealership getting it. She actually went and got it before I did, and I had it probably a year before that. Oh, actually, that's not true. We came in together. I had it a couple months before her, but she said, nope, I'm getting it right away because it sends a message that I am successful here. And she was right because she had a whole bunch of people join her team right after she got it. So if you want to take a look at that testimonial, that's posted here as well. So have a great rest of your night, everybody. And with tomorrow being month end, go get them, close everything you have because, double points is ending. Double thank you awards is ending, and we don't know what's going on with the customer sales. So don't risk it. Get everything closed up, get everybody their stuff, and I will see you next Tuesday.
Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night.